there. So yesterday I took the day off. And yesterday I was thinking a lot about cash. I've been thinking about cash all week. But yesterday specifically, I was thinking about how I can help people right now. Like, what is the thing that they need the most right now, or at least that I can provide, or within my realm of like people need masks, but there's nothing I can really do about that. So what do people need right now? By people need masks, I mean healthcare workers. I don't mean that like everyone should wear masks, just to clarify. So cash management is a thing that's going to be very important to everyone if it's not already very important now. And I was thinking about, how do I manage my cash? And how is that relevant to somebody else? Because I'm probably definitely a lot more aggressive about it than most people, but that's because I enjoy doing it. So I'll tell you how I do it, but then I'll tell you a little bit of the stories that I gathered from people, because I did a little bit of research on this, and I'm still looking to research. So I'd love to know your system as well. And so my system is that I probably once a week or so, I will check my, okay, let's back up. So I have a spreadsheet that has a forecast of the next, to the end of the year. So I did a budget for the whole year, and then I regularly forecast the rest of the year, which those terms are usually used interchangeably, but I think of it in terms of the budget was set and created for the year, and then a forecast is something that you can use the actual information that you have to then make more accurate predictions going forward. You don't change the budget, you just create a new one. I call it a forecast just so that I understand the difference between the two of them. And so I do this and I update, and so that I really understand what my projections are, and they're the most accurate they can be. And I look at cash in and cash out, and if I'm going to have a shortfall, or if I'm, comparing cash that was spent to the cash that I thought I was going to spend, and saying how much am I over, or am I underspending, that kind of thing. I'm also checking my bank account balance and my Stripe balance once a day, usually, because I'm into my QuickBooks file every day. And I'm just generally very, I would say, aggressive about the whole thing. Cash management is a part of my daily life. But I like it that way. I very much enjoy money, and I enjoy managing money, and so I like to do it every day. I realize, though, that that's maybe not the way that most people prefer to manage their cash, and perhaps my system is not really relevant to helping other people. Even if I were to simplify my system, it works for me because I'm the way I am, but that everybody's cash management system should be unique to them in that same way. So I started doing some research on that, and I chatted with my mom and my sister kind of at the same time. And they had a similar method to me. Now, it's not the same in that, my mom was telling me that she's got an app that she uses, and she monthly downloads transactions into it so she can see where they've spent money, and she's comparing to budgets and that kind of thing, which is similar. And my sister was telling me that she keeps spreadsheets that she can put transactions into, and then she's looking backwards and looking at trends. She never ever budgets forwards, but she's always looking backwards and looking at trends and saying like, compared to the last 3 months, this category is much higher than it used to be. So what happened there? And just asking questions as to why that number is unexpected, which I think is really the most important thing of all three of our systems, is that it generates the data so that we can ask a question about why we spent more than we expected to spend in any one particular category, and even as a whole as well. And I was interested to hear their systems because I think it's useful to understand how other people think about it. But I also understand that we are all very like-minded people. being that we're, the immediate family. And so, although their systems are different than mine, they are very similar in the logic to them and even in the logistics of it. They're within the same ballpark. So I enjoyed that because I enjoyed hearing what a system that I know and that my brain has created would look like in a simpler form, or to somebody who just doesn't want to be managing this day to day. So that was great. But then I thought I need to have a little bit more research around. I need some more input. So I asked a friend of mine who he's part of the gig economy, and I was asking him about the way that he manages money, and he suggested that he didn't really, that it was sort of an idea. He has a basic idea of the money that he needs to spend in the next week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, and a basic idea of the money that's coming in as well, the checks that are owed or whatever it is. And so it's always sort of this general idea of like where he's at any one point in time. So if rent is the big expense, and so rent has been paid and it's maybe the 2nd of the month and he's still got a bit of money left over, he said he would go to the grocery store and he would stock up if he had the money for that. And if he didn't, then he'd go to the grocery store and buy what he can. But it was a very general sense of things, and there was no real logic to it. It was just sort of making do with what he had at any given time. Which I thought was interesting because it's very far away from the way that I approach money and the way that I feel I could live with management. But that was really great insight in that is how I'm sure a lot of people manage their money. And so I was thinking, if I can design a system for somebody like that, and I can help that person to take an active role in managing their cash, then perhaps that would be a great way to show other people who are in the same sort of boat how to manage their own cash. So I'm definitely going to follow up with this person to see if I can get their input on designing something or helping them to create a system that really works for them. Because cash management, as I've learned, is a very individual style to it. Everything needs to work for that person. It's not a one-size-fits-all. I asked another friend of mine what his cash management philosophy was, and he had sort of a mix of mine and the friend I just told you about, where he is daily into his bank account and he knows exactly how much needs to get paid in the month and how much is coming in, and all of those details, he knows those things, but they're all in his head. He doesn't write anything down. So in a way, he's very much like me in that it's daily, like active daily management, but in another way, he's also a lot like my friend, where it's all in his head. And he told me he has a very specific numbers. He knows exactly, but I know for me, I forget things. So it's not that I don't believe him, I just have a hard time believing him. And that there's not something missing there. How do you know that you're not missing something? Which I know, how do I know that I'm not missing something? I have a lot of checks and balances, and I kind of go backwards and forwards to get to the same answer, to check the same answer, which is a very accounting way to do things. I'm sure that's a very other profession way to do things as well. But it's to have it all in your head. I don't know. I just don't believe that it's going to be in there reliably every month, that you'll know every month. So those were the 4 people that I have consulted with so far. 2 very left-brained people and 2 very right-brained people. I guess 3 if you count me. And I would love to know what your strategy is. How do you manage your money? How do you manage your cash? not so much in what kind of accounts you have, although that could be definitely part of it, but how do you know when bills are due? How do you know when you're going to get paid? Maybe you get paid regularly, so that's easy to predict. But how do you know how much needs to get paid where? And maybe use Excel, maybe you have an app for it, maybe, yeah, it's something like you need a budget or Bankivity, can't remember. I would love to know. So let me know in the comments how it is that you manage your money, because I'm very interested and I will be asking lots of people. So you could really help me out with my research by letting me know. If you prefer to chat privately, let me know in the comments that you'd rather chat privately and we'll set something up. We'll chat about it. I'll see you tomorrow.